So this is a bit of a complicated one. Let me clarify. I am not coming for this commenter. They are not saying anything harmful. This is just a discussion that I've been wanting to have with the autism community for a long time. I do think that assuming somebody's support needs is extremely harmful. There are autistic people out there who have very high support needs, but are also high in communication skills, meaning that they can communicate very well like me, but perhaps they still cannot live on their own and need a constant caregiver. They may have severe struggles with impulsivity. They may be able to communicate, but cannot actually cook for themselves. They may struggle with elopements. There are so many reasons why a person might be high support needs, but also high in communication. The one thing that I do want to push back on, though, is the fact that I do think a lot of lower support needs autistics are claiming high support needs when they're really not. And let me just state, I will never fake claim somebody. This is not something that an outside observer can say about another autistic person. It is not up to me to go out and say, you're saying you have high support needs, but you don't actually have high support needs. You're a low support needs autistic. I don't know you, I don't know your life. But I do think the appropriation of the term high support needs comes from the fact that a lot of low support needs autistic seem to think that the label low support needs is synonymous with no support needs. And that is not true. Just because you have low support needs does not mean you have no support needs. Low support needs autistic people still have support needs. I personally would consider myself a low support needs autistic. I can live on my own, but it is still extremely difficult for me. Balancing the act of maintaining my routine, but also working a full-time job and trying to take care of the physical human that is my body and also my environment, those are all extremely difficult things for me to do as an autistic person and still maintain a certain level of emotional regulation. I still heavily rely on friends and things like ChatGPT to help me communicate within a workplace environment. During my year of living alone before I moved in with my partner, I struggled heavily maintaining the cleanliness of my apartment. And now that I do live with a partner, I rely on him so heavily for things like reminding me to brush my teeth or reminding me to eat or letting me know that my hyper-focus has gotten to the point where I am being detrimental to my body. I can't tell you how many times he has had to physically stop me from whatever I am hyper-focusing on because I've gotten heat exhaustion or because I am physically about to faint and I don't want to stop because autism brain is saying I can't. I rely on him quite heavily, but I am still a low support needs autistic person. And I'm okay with that label because I've done a lot of work with things like dialectical behavioral therapy. I can hold two truths in my hands at the same time. I do need support, but I am not high support needs. And again, this is something that each individual autistic person has to reflect on themselves. I cannot say that you are low support needs because you're like me. I go by my definition of what high support needs would be: somebody who struggles more significantly with communication, someone who struggles more than I do in maintaining a job, someone who cannot live on their own without being consistently monitored by a third person, and someone with comorbid disabilities that make living independently almost impossible. That is my personal definition, and that is not one that you have to abide by. But what if you fit some of these categories and not all of them? Let me remind you, medium support needs do exist. And while we should center autistic people with higher support needs in the autism acceptance movement, we also don't talk enough about people with medium support needs. I know plenty of medium support needs autistic people who can live on their own, but still require significant support from government agencies in order to maintain a quality of life. I wouldn't consider myself quite at that level, but again, being a low support needs autistic person does not mean I have no support needs. And that's just something that I think a lot of autistic people should reflect upon themselves to ask what their real support needs are. And that doesn't mean that you diminish your support needs. That just means that you know yourself better and know what you do need so you can help ask for it. I know that was a bit of a long answer, and I appreciate you listening.